Hi there, Mark Matthews from the Coach Community Mentoring Program speaking here. I'm very pleased to be able to speak with you at your pastor, Simon's invitation, about local mission on Phillip Island and mission in the surrounding townships. Let me tell you a little bit about Coach. Coach is a mentoring program that empowers, equips and mobilises Christians to be able to draw alongside a local family experiencing disadvantage and to support that local family to be able to work towards one or two life goals. What we want to do is we want to be able to empower our mentors to draw alongside a parent, to be able to influence that parent, to impact and influence the child or the children in that family, to then in turn impact generational change. I'm of the view that as a Christian, God has hardwired me to leave a legacy, to have some sort of, Christian impact in a social justice context. I myself am the beneficiary of a legacy, a powerful legacy that was left by my Irish uncle, Uncle Pat. Let me tell you a little bit about that. So at 17 years of age, I was a homeless boy as a consequence of family violence. And my Irish uncle allowed his life to be used intentionally to be able to influence me. So as a 17-year-old homeless kid, my Uncle Pat used his life experience, he used his wisdom to be able to gently guide me to make better choices around my life. And that was fantastic, obviously, for me. But the great thing about the legacy that Uncle Pat left for me is that that legacy has an influence in the generations to come. That legacy that my uncle left has actually influenced my own two adult children in their life. Why would Christians be involved in local mission? Why would Christians be involved in leaving a legacy? That's a good question in my mind. Let me turn to the scriptures if I may, and so I'll just read a short passage from Luke 4. As a reminder, it'll be a passage that I'm sure you'll be very familiar with. Jesus was reflecting on the prophetic utterance from the prophet Isaiah, and he's in the temple and he proclaims this prophecy over himself. The Spirit of the Lord, this is Luke 4 verse 18, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has appointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, and to set at liberty those who are oppressed. In my mind, it's a good question to think about, well, what does oppression look like on Phillip Island and in the surrounding districts? It could look like the single mum who's battling on the single mother's pension, paying 50% or more of her pension in private rental, and that in turn influencing and impacting, her children and the capacity and the opportunities that her children might have to participate equitably in society or in school. It could look like the lonely, isolated person who's struggling to feel accepted and loved and connected with another and have meaning in that relational context. There's growing a body of evidence that's showing that chronic loneliness doesn't just impact us in a mental health context, it also has the capacity to affect us and our physical health. It could look like the person that's struggling to cope with emotional issues and relationship issues, and so they're depending upon substances such as alcohol to cope with day-to-day life. It could look like the family that are just struggling to get into parenting routines with the children, and that's causing emotional struggle within the family and conflict within the family. It could look like someone that's struggling to manage a mental health problem. Statistically, 1 in 5 people on Phillip Island at some point in their life journey will need to access mental health support services to cope with a mental health problem. So I'm of the view that oppression, it's not a third world context of oppression, where we're living in that context of absolute poverty, but it's a different type of oppression, it's a different type of poverty. Many of us would have heard of or be very familiar with the great humanitarian Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa is a hero for me. And as many of us would be aware of, she worked tirelessly. She sacrificed pretty much her entire life to work tirelessly in the slums of Calcutta. And there's a very famous story of a lady by the name of Mary Poplin from the United States who came across to Calcutta to work with Mother Teresa. And she was working with Mother Teresa for a few months. And Mother Teresa mused and reflected with Mary on life and struggle and poverty. And she left Mary Poplin with this very powerful thought. And that was, she said to Mary, you know, Mary, you can find your own Calcutta in your own home. You can find your own Calcutta in your own township if you only have the eyes to see it. And what Mother Teresa was saying was that there's poverty, there's struggle, there's battle, there's challenge, there's oppression in your local district. That's your local mission field. And so Mary then took up that call and took up that challenge and dedicated her life to be able to work with struggling people in her local community. Mother Teresa also said, you know, it may not be possible for all of us to change the world, but we can do small things with great love. My reflective, summarising thought around all of this is, who is it in your local community that you can leave a legacy for? Who is it that God is calling you to impact and influence? You know, my encouragement to you is to reflect upon that scripture of Jesus, because Jesus said the same things that I do, I'd like you to do also. You know, as disciples and followers of Jesus Christ, that's our mandate. So my encouragement to you as a church community is to get behind your church leadership, get behind Simon, get behind the elders, get behind the board. Prayerfully consider how you might be able to support your church, how you might be able to express the kingdom, express kingdom values to those people that are struggling with life in your local community. I'd even encourage you to consider the prospect of joining the Coach Community Mentoring team. We've already had a team of people come through some training earlier this year, or it might have been late last year. I'm not entirely sure of the time now. But we've got a team of mentors trained and equipped, and we believe that we can mobilise more to be able to transform the lives of local families in and around Phillip Island. So as a closing summary thought, my encouragement to you is to prayerfully consider how God might be leading you in mission in local community, and how God might be calling you to leave a legacy in your local area. God bless you. I really look forward to catching up with you and seeing you in person once we get through this social distancing time. And just really strongly encourage you to follow God, answer the call, and just be mindful that your life is hardwired to make a difference to somebody else. God bless you. Bye-bye.